Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here, and I have Mr. Brian Johnson in the house. How are you doing, sir?
Austin, I'm doing great, dude. I'm buzzing from our little prelude here, connection. Thrilled to connect.
I tell everybody there should be a podcast before the podcast. That's the whole, we call it Behind the Vault. But you've launched this book. We'll call it a girthy read, a big read, but it's tactically done a certain way for that purpose. Why don't you tell everybody about who you are, kind of what you do, and we'll kind of see where we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Heroic Public Benefit Corporation, and the book you mentioned, Arete, is coming out. And it's simultaneously, it has gravitas, but we wanted to make it really readable. So it's basically Arete, Activate Your Heroic Potential, 451 of what I hope are potentially life-changing ideas in 2 to 3 page little micro chapters. 451 is, of course, the number of degrees Fahrenheit you need to ignite a fire. So the idea is, activation energy. Nothing happens if you're trying to boil water, nothing happens at 200 degrees, 210, 211, 212 degrees. One thing becomes another thing. With fire, it's 451 degrees. So anyway, 451 of the best ideas I've studied in one book that's got a gravitas to it, yet hopefully is super readable.
We're going to talk all about that, but I'm fascinated by authors. How does it feel? Because I'm sure you got a million ideas past that one, to actually put it in words and to let it go. Because we're always changing, our mindset. Like John Maxwell talks about, once you put the word down on the page, you kind of have to surrender to letting it go. And he's like, oh, I'll reread it. Did you have that kind of same thing?
I've been working on it for the better part of 25 years. So
okay.
I waited a very long time to write a book that, I always hope, was worthy of helping people. So, of course, when you're going through the creative process, you just want to get it to the point where it's just that work of art and you're crafting. And at a certain point, it's done and good enough is great and ship it. But I'm really proud of it. The team behind the scenes worked really hard to help create something that I think it's beautiful. It captures what we aspired to do kind of creatively. And the feedback we've gotten so far from people I really respect and admire has been humbling and inspiring. And now I'm all in. I've spent a lot of time bubble wrapped is my joke. I've just been a hermit, reading and writing and thinking, and I haven't done a lot to kind of quote promote myself or the brand or what we're doing. And now I'm all in. Now it's all right, cool. I've got something that I'm excited about, I'm proud of, that I hope helps people. So now it's like, let's go. I'm in the, having fun, sharing what I can in conversations like these, but just really excited about it.
I think Huberman talked about that, how he did research for so long. He just wanted to get out and be human. I think he said that in one of his podcasts. And now that he did it, he's all in, and that's kind of, you get to enjoy. But something that you said there that's super important, 25 years, okay? So when you come out and you're speaking these practices, these frameworks, this book, there's a firmness in your voice that you can hear. And I think that's why I resonate with it. If it feels floppy or we're trying to still figure out the framework or the mindset, it doesn't hit the same way it does as somebody who, for lack of a better word, embodies.
I appreciate that, man. I mean, I again, my whole thing with our community, and we train coaches and do a lot of different things with the app. Be worthy. And again, I playfully say without being that guy that's kind of mean-spirited, but there's often an inverse relationship between one's reach and the amount of time they put into marketing and their wisdom, how much time they've actually invested in really understanding what a good life looks like in our modern society. And again, longer chat, but I've really tried to work hard to have something worth sharing. As you know, ancient wisdom, modern science.
Yes.
And this stuff works. I've experienced it. We've trained a lot of people. We've had scientific studies by leading well-being labs. But it's what everyone has always said. Every great ancient wisdom tradition, from the ancient Greeks and Stoics, and of course we'll talk about what arte means, to all faith traditions, to modern science. These ideas are universal. And for whatever reason, we've been blessed to figure out a framework that's made it really practical to take these ideas that are inspiring and truly help people move from theory to practice to mastery and change their lives. So I appreciate that reflection. You know, I've worked hard personally to see that these ideas worked. I wanted to end my own life 25 years ago, just to put it out, to be direct, know what it feels like. My dad was an alcoholic who struggled. His dad was an alcoholic who killed himself. You know, I lost the environmental genetic lotteries. I wanted to end my own life. I know what it feels like to feel that. I know what it feels like to feel what I feel now. Highs and lows. I'm human, you're human, etc. But I also know what I did to go from there to here and to work with friends, you know, like Sean Casey at the highest levels of performance, to people who may not want to get out of bed, you know, tomorrow morning. It's been a real blessing, and now I'm just all in on doing everything I can to share what we've picked up and hopefully help some people along the way.
We're going to unpack the book in just a minute, and there's a lot of reasons why I have people on the podcast and love the book. Don't get me wrong. Sorry, I'm trying to collect myself. What you don't know is on January 9th, coming up, I'll be 5 years sober. 20 years as an alcoholic. Got off a call with one of my clients yesterday, 51 years old, 30 years an alcoholic, now sober. Never thought it was ever. So the connection there is, yes. So amazing.
This is it. Goosebumps. But this is it, you know, and who you are as a man and what you've been through and your humility and your wisdom and your discipline and your ability to, this is the hero, you know, redefined. The hero's gone on a quest. We've battled dragons and we've come back with a transformed consciousness. And now we're strongest where we were weakest, and we can give the gift of. And I wish my dad met you. You know what I mean? Where were you when my dad was going through his stuff? I was blessed to have Stephen Covey and others that influenced me on my path. But this is it, dude. And this is what it means to be heroic, by the way, is to, you know, help people at the end of the day, you know, but it isn't all the rich and famous and all this. Not that they can't be heroes, but that doesn't make them heroes. It's my wife staying up late the last couple nights with our daughter and no one will ever know what she's doing to take care of our kids, but really, really doing the work to show up and to be there. And Sean Casey, again, is the definition of heroic, you know, and a lot of things are public, but a lot of things aren't. And what he's doing and how he's showing up. And I appreciate you sharing that. I tears in my eyes, goosebumps is just lit up on that's it right there. You've done the work. I commit to doing the work. And together we can literally change the world. One person, one family, one community at a time.
I swear we're gonna get to the book, but I just gotta walk something. So my coach that helped me get sober and get through my divorce had been sober himself 18 years, helped thousands and thousands of people. And when he's told this story very much so, he was addicted to cocaine. His daughter was about to be born from his restraint. They weren't together anymore. And he literally asked God to end it. He said, look, I can't be the father that I need to be for her. You gotta let me out of this thing. She's gonna be better off. This whole thing goes on. And at that moment, for whatever reason, he didn't, whatever happened. And he had a number in his pocket that he got a couple months ago. And it was from a guy he ran into that said, if you're ever in a bad spot and you need to go to an AA meeting, give me a call. And it just happened to be in his pocket. And he called, and the guy didn't even say hello. He said, I've been waiting for your phone call. And he goes, and then she's born the next day. And he goes on to create a podcast that's helped hundreds of thousands of people get sober. And I said to him, your daughter, not you, your daughter helped hundreds of thousands of people. And he said, holy shit, I never. And I think about you and your father, and I say, you stopped the generational kind of lineage and look at all the people that you're going to help because you decided to make stuff.
Dude, I don't even know what to say on the other side of that. Oh, dude, just sacred. The hero becomes the guide. And this is it. You know, the hero goes on their quest. They battle dragons. It's supposed to be hard, which we'll talk about. You know, and the story that it shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be happening to us. Something's wrong with us is the biggest obstacle to our well-being. But then the hero wins and learns and wins and learns, hopefully comes back transformed, and they give their gifts and they become the guide. And what an amazing story. I can't wait to learn more about your mentor and your friend. And this is
He's
it.
A trip. He's wild, dude. You gotta have a good. You gotta go down to Costa Rica to go see him. It's a good time. So look, I was in Arte Syndicate, so I find the name. I'm aware of the name myself. Okay, but for people that don't understand, what does the word mean, and why was the book named?
Yeah, so the word arete, it's an ancient Greek word. It's the one word answer that the ancient Greek philosophers like Aristotle, Socrates, and Plato, and the Roman Stoics like Aurelius and Seneca and Epictetus, the one word answer they would give to how to live a good life. So if you want to live a good life, live with arete, they would say. The word is translated into English weakly as excellence or virtue, right? But it has a deeper meaning, something closer to expressing the best version of yourself, moment to moment to moment. And I like to draw lines. So there's a line that you can draw here, which is you at your best. And if there's a line below it, that's you not being the best version of yourself, and there's a gap between who you could be and who you are being. And again, very importantly, not the gap between where you think you should be over the last 20 years, but in this moment, right now. Your friend could reach into his pocket and call that number. Boom. In that moment, his life changes. Doesn't matter what happened before and how big of a gap he may have created. In the moment in which you are not expressing your best self, that's where regret, pain, anxiety, depression, etc. exists. Now, it's more nuanced than that, but in its simplest perspective, that gap is closed by living with arete. Boom. In any given moment, you're being your best self. That's what life is all about in creating a life of meaning and joy and purpose. Because in that moment in which you're expressing the best version of yourself, independent of how much cleanup you might need to do, in that moment, you feel a deep sense of joy and meaning and purpose. And the Greeks called that eudaimonia, and the Roman Stoics as well. You have a good soul, which we translate as happiness, but it means something closer to flourishing. It was the summum bonum, the greatest good of life. So that's arete. Be your best self, moment to moment to moment, never perfectly, but more and more consistently, and you will experience more joy, more meaning, more purpose in your life. And the book is all about that and operationalizing it. It sounds nice and warm and fuzzy, but how do you do that? All right, well, we've got 7 objectives in the book where I systematically walk you through how to move from theory to practice with these little micro chapters we talked about.
It's something that's happened to me in the last like 6 months to a year. It's like I read, and listen so much, and my wants and needs change, and a lot of it was personal development. I still do that, but I find myself as the world gets more and more distracted. I find myself going back to the fundamentals, the issues of stoicism or Rockefeller, who had a business back then. I find myself gravitating. There's a guy that I follow. He said, "Look, to be an innovator is great, and don't get me wrong. There's a game out there for that." But he goes, "I stick to what's worked every day in and day out." That's what this. There's no frills with this book. This is what has worked for countless empires, countless people. Is that kind of your view on the whole thing? Is that we as a society, as people, need to get back to the fundamentals?
100%, 100%. Goosebumps again. So it's one of the objectives in the book. The 6th objective is dominate the fundamentals. We've trained a lot of coaches around the world, and my favorite coach is John Whitton. I'm a UCLA Bruin, He won 10 championships in 12 years. Greatest coach of the 20th century and in history, according to different sources. And the number one thing he taught the best players of his generation was how to put on their socks. He wouldn't let them touch a basketball until they got their fundamentals right, right? So if you want to see how tall a building is going to be, look at how deeply they're digging the foundation. A good life comes down to very simple things repeated consistently. So we each need to understand what we do when we're at our best and do that. It really is that simple. It's not easy to do that, but it is that simple. And we go to the basic fundamentals of eating, moving, sleeping, breathing, and focusing your attention. You get those things right, get your physiology right, your psychology follows, and life becomes a lot more enjoyable and a lot easier to win the ultimate game. So yeah, I'm relentlessly focused on the basic fundamentals of self-mastery. It's how you build trust and confidence in yourself and go win all the little games that you want to win in life, starting with the most basic, mundane, as Darren Hardy says, unsexy stuff. You know what I mean? But do them repeatedly. The greatest in history have always focused on that, full stop.
And what I describe to people is the reason. I'm not saying the reason I was an alcoholic, but I had stopped and started about 5,000 things, leading up to me getting sober. And so when I had that, that moment with myself, that breakthrough, I promised myself that if I started something, I would finish it. That was the rule now moving forward. So that's why I'm so consistent with the podcast. That's why I'm so consistent with my walks every morning. And you can't compete with me because my why on the reason why, the consistency is so rooted in something that can't be touched by anybody else. And I think one of the things I do with my clients that this book can teach you is that everything that we talk about, if we talk to people, is so external. And you realize that when we flip it from external to internal, then I consider you the palm tree. The palm tree that's roots are so, doesn't matter what storm comes, the roots are so down deep. We're one of my good friends said, we're just walking around living in people's injected values. And it's the truth. Like we've forgotten that the path is our path. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And when you're getting somebody to understand that, what's the first step, 1 to 2 to 3, to get them there in that direction?
Yeah, dude. Again, I won't say it every time it happens, but goosebumps again, dude. Yeah. So then 7 objectives, very briefly, are you got to know the ultimate game. So you've been seduced to play. We all have a game in which you chase fame, wealth, and hotness. Nothing wrong with those things per se, but those hedonic pursuits don't lead to happiness. 2,500 years of ancient philosophy and modern science agree. Go after the eudaimonic, not the hedonic. And again, enjoy your life. Nothing wrong with fame, wealth, and hotness. But if that's what you're going after predominantly, psychologists say you will be less psychologically stable. I quote, less psychologically stable than people focused on the intrinsic stuff, which are becoming a better person, deepening relationships, and making a contribution to your family. And those intrinsic motivators is where I always start with people. And David Brooks has his Second Mountain, great book, right? Where he says, look, you get up to the top of the first mountain, you look around, and you're like, what? This is it? This was supposed to make me happy? No. It's the second mountain. Stephen Covey said, you can get up to the top of a ladder, final rung, look down and realize you put it up against the wrong wall. Oh, shoot, maybe I was playing the wrong game. The other way I like to playfully say it is, if a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, which of course it does, but that first step is in the wrong direction, the further you go and the faster you go, the further away you get from where you really wanted to go. So you got to slow down long enough to step back and say, look, in a world in which 80% of the people are anxious or depressed at some level or another, and or close to that, being overweight and obese and suffering from diabetes, cancer, et cetera, is it healthy to be well adjusted to that world? No. And again, we can talk about it longer, but that's the first step, is you got to realize, wow, Matrix style, I'm playing the wrong game. Then you say, all right, well, what is the right game? it's being the better person in service of something bigger than yourself. Then we can unpack how to go about doing that. But I find that simple, obvious distinction to be in and of itself transformative. Because then we realize we're going so hard, yet we're not feeling the joy we want to feel. Nothing's wrong with you. You were just doing it wrong, you know? And now if we step back and do it a little differently, bring that same intensity to the right game, all of a sudden life becomes a lot more fun and meaningful. And oh, by the way, we win the smaller games at an even higher level while winning the ultimate game and feeling good about ourselves and what we're doing in the process.
And when you started putting these things into practice, and I think about your grandfather and your father, like most people come to me and they say, you know, well, this is just in my family. Like my fiance's had like crazy childhood, crazy family, like just foster care the whole nine. And she could have easily said like, oh, this is just us and this is what we do. Like, did you ever have that moment with yourself where you were like, I'm not gonna let, God love them and I love them, but I'm not gonna let who they were or what happened to them, I think people use that as a cop out sometime to kind of like say, oh, this is just how it's always gonna be.
Yeah, and that's the shift from kind of victim to hero. So again, respect. We've all faced our own, challenges, and I had my own trauma and my own experience. We've all got ours at different degrees, and it sounds like your fiance just went through it. At the end of the, and all of us have in our own way. But at the end of the day, we need to maintain agency, and there's always a choice. Am I going to show up as a victim of my own story, or am I going to show up as the hero of my own story? And for whatever reason, and I generally don't know the reason, grace of God, it'd be how my mom would frame it up. Raised Catholic for 12 years. I've got Jesus on my wall up there to remind me of my origin story. But my high school essay to get into college was breaking the cycle of my own family. It gives me tears for what, who does this? 16, 17-year-old kid, like
nobody,
nobody. Like, wow. Yet my mom also told me, who was just a devout, beautiful, humble woman, married at 17, had her first kid at 18, wonderful human being, I was the golden child of a dysfunctional family. So I'm the youngest of 5, straight A kid, did everything right, everything, you know what I mean? Petrified, anxious, and all these things, but never made a mistake. I let her down one day, and I can vividly remember, and I talk about it near the end of the book, that the crack where a garage door, those old garage doors would swing open. So I'm in the crack in our garage/driveway, and my mom grabbed me by the shoulders after I let her down and I said something she didn't like, and she throttled me, and she never did that. And she looked me in the eye and she said, God gave you gifts, you must give them to the world. It's like my entire life, dude, is I think we've all been given that gift, and part of what I want to do in the book is that I'm that guy that's grabbing you by the shoulders, looking you in the eye, and saying, God gave you gifts, and you know it, and I know it, and we need you to step up and give them to the world. But I don't know, grace of God, call it whatever you want. Just been there, but I think we all have it, we want to numb ourselves, we want to make it go away, but it doesn't go away. And this is all, again, this is it. This is why we watch those hero stories. And what do we watch? We're watching ourselves metaphorically represented on the screen. And we feel this call to be better, to be more noble, to be more virtuous, to be more heroic. And that's what I've dedicated my life to, is letting people know you are the hero we've been waiting for, and you can do it, and here's how. Again, long answer to your question, dude. I don't know what the source was, but it's been there.
No, I think it's the opposite of what people actually think. What I mean by that is what I found is everybody claims that it's failure that they're scared of, and they're actually scared of success. Because if life was great and things were good and you had plenty of money and you were healthy, then what am I going to have to be upset about? Right? What am I, and that to me that I found after coaching so many people seems to be more the driving forces. They're scared of their own power, right? They want to stay in that own thing with their family because this is my family and blah, 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 blah. No, like you, just like you said, the gifts of you, everybody has, doesn't matter who you are, find what those are, nourish those things, and just continue to give better every day. On your story, you reminded me of a story I heard on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and you of all people will. This is a story that I almost turned off the podcast because it hit me. So this guy, sober too, just happens to be 15 years, and now he swims across oceans. So like the English Channel, in between Hawaiian Islands, like 14, 15 hours swims. Just great. And like, I'm like, dude, you're a legend. So he puts in an extra race between the Hawaii Islands, and the weather is bad. It's wavy, it's windy, but when is he going to get another opportunity to do this? He asked the captain, what do you think? He said, you can do it. He said, but I'm just letting you know. So he's got two kayaks following him. If he touches the kayaks, he's done. So he's not touching the kayaks, but he's in 2 hours into the swim, and it's so wavy that he's getting motion sickness and throwing up, swimming, and he's getting stung by manta rays. He got stung by a shark, and he's yelling up. The sun's coming up. Cloudy sun's coming up, and he says, "God." He's like, "This is bullshit." He's like, "I prayed to you to calm the seas. This is BS." And so he keeps swimming. And he said he looked up one more time, and he said, God answered back to him, I never told you that I would calm the seas, but I promised you that I would calm you in the seas.
Jeez. Oh, let's go.
And that is such a metaphor for everything. It's basically at the core of what your book's about, is that life, the problems don't go away. The chaos doesn't go away, but I'm going to make you fortified. I love this word. It's coming up this week a lot. Fortified in who I am, what I do, what I believe in. And these are the steps to get to that place.
100%, dude. And again, goosebumps yet again. Forging antifragile confidence is actually the second objective in the book. So the first objective is you got to know the ultimate game. The second objective is forge anti-fragile confidence. Quit being fragile. Be anti-fragile. Get stronger the more life hits you. And develop confidence, which means intense trust. Not that things will go perfectly, but that it doesn't matter. You've got what it takes. But rule number one of objective 2, I've got, all bold caps. It's supposed to be hard. Your story that it should be, the story that the sea should be calm when you're out doing legendary things is a joke. I'm watching Mission Impossible, right? I kind of rented it on the whatever it is, Amazon, 2 hours and 47 minutes, dude. I don't got 2 hours and 47 minutes. So I'm 2 hours into it, got to come back to it. But dude, all it is one insane, ridiculous challenge after another. And what do? Well, they get hit in places they don't like to get hit, and then they get up, dust themselves off, and get back at it. It's what makes the movie interesting. So what makes your life interesting when you do it right, and what makes you stronger when you go to the gym, is to lift weights. But we want to lift styrofoam weights in our lives. We don't want the challenges, and that's foolish to use the opposite of wisdom. You need to have the wisdom to know the game you're playing and how to play it well. And then you need to forge anti-fragile confidence with every action you take, knowing it's supposed to be hard, and then using those obstacles like you would weights in a gym to get stronger. And then when you do that, you develop this invincibility, where the more life hits you, the more committed you are to your protocol, which is what my beloved coach, Phil Stutz, who's in the Netflix documentary called Stutz with Jonah Hill, taught me. He calls it emotional stamina. The worse you feel, the more committed you are to your protocol. I call it anti-fragile confidence. It presupposes you have a protocol. So the question is, who are you at your best? What do you do? What do you not do? You can literally bust out a piece of paper and do that right now. Draw a line down the middle. What do you do? What do you not do? And then when you're at your worst, don't do the things that invite the circus to town, right? Do the things you do when you're at your best, when you feel your worst. If you can do that, even 1, 3, 5, 10% better, you forge an anti-fragile confidence. And the things that used to destroy you literally make you stronger. That's as close to invincibility as we will ever get. that's frankly the thing I'm most proud of in my teaching and in the book and in what we do with everything with heroic. It's life-changing. If you can use the same stimulus to get stronger, Nassim Taleb calls it anti-fragility. Ryan Holiday's obstacle is the way. That's all it is. So the Stoics said, and Nassim Taleb paraphrases it, a wind will extinguish a candle, but it will fuel a fire. So stress in life properly channeled makes you stronger. We just need to have the right mindset and then the right behaviors in the midst of challenges. And anyway, going off, but that's really important to get. It's supposed to be hard. When you get that, and then you do the hard things in the face of those challenges, boom, everything changes. You become the person you've always aspired to be. And then you want more challenges. And you want to take on more risks creatively while showing up powerfully, and not just your work, but also, your love and getting your energy dialed in and all the other things.
No, it's so great. When I want to switch gears just for a second, because I'm fascinated by this stuff. Did you have app experience before you built an app? Did you have any in your business background? Did you already know how to do that?
Yeah, I spent half of the last 25 years as a founder and CEO, and the other half as a philosopher. So,
Okay.
I threw up on my way home from work. I worked at Arthur Andersen back in the day. I did audit, tax, financial planning, and consulting. I'm driving on the 405, big freeway in LA, literally 5:30 rush hour. I pull over on the side of the freeway and throw up. I hated it. Went to law school thinking I'd get a stamp from a top 10 law school. I'm a smart guy, go make my money. Threw up the day I moved in. Dropped out of law school, and this is when I wanted to end my life. I had no idea what I wanted to do. All the same intensity I have now, with no wisdom, no perspective, and I did not want to go back and do any of the things I was doing before. But anyway, out of that, I dropped out of law school. The only thing I knew I wanted to do was to coach a Little League baseball team. 23 years old, moved back in with mom. And I had done a little database consulting at this consulting firm, and I could see that every single team and league in the world would use the web, 1998, 1999. And I created it like an ESPN for youth sports. Before content management system was a phrase, I created one that allowed teen moms to create websites they can put pictures up on that grandma and grandpa could check out and all the things. Won a business plan competition at UCLA at 24, hired the CEO of Adidas to replace me at 25. And I was we were a thing in the 1999 dot-com boom. Market crashed. We sold that to one of our competitors. And then I had enough to take some time off to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. That's when I became a philosopher and did all the things, But anyway, I had background in that technology 25 years ago. Then I created another social platform before Facebook that John Mackey of Whole Foods invested in, sold it to another publicly traded company. And then I waited 17 years for somebody to create an alternative to Facebook. And if you've seen The Social Dilemma on Netflix, anyway, that's heroic. Heroic is an answer to the social dilemma. So all the things we know in the book and that we do with the Heroic app are part of the training part of our app, where we help you move from theory to practice. It's been scientifically proven to work, but the real power is the community. Because if you want to change your life, the fastest way to do it is to connect like we are right now. And the men and women listening to your show have more in common with one another than most people in their lives. But where do they connect? That's what Heroic is. It's a social training platform to connect. You will be, if we do our job, one of our premier guides, Sean Casey, all my friends and best-selling authors and these individuals. Creating that platform is why I tattooed my body with Heroic, and to create a world in which 51% of humanity is flourishing by 2051 is literally the goal I tattooed to my body. But it happens one conversation like this at a time. Your mentor who is affected by his mentor or guide, because that's what a hero gets. They get a guide and then they get buddies, and together we can go out and do some things. Super long answer to your short question, but I've been at this for 25 years, and it feels to me like this is what I've been training for and why I'm so all in on it,
I interviewed a guy yesterday who created a product in the fitness space. Got 22 patents. Said he's 20 years into the thing and finally feels like he's ready to build a business. And you're saying the same. I waited 17 years. The amount, I'll take so much away from this conversation, and that's great, right? But I'm a different cat than most, and I'm an observer of people. It's my specialty. What I'll take more from all the words that you said is the conviction coursing through your veins of what you're doing. That the path is so clear, and there's no alternative. Like, you're literally going up against the largest company, one of the largest in the world, and you're like, sounds good. I'm looking forward to the journey. Like, I fucking love, and I'm cussing on purpose. I love that because that's the way I feel about inspiring people. The only reason, because this is a lot of work, the only reason why we buy companies and build up this big portfolio is so I can give jobs. Because I was the kid that working behind a bar that prayed that a business owner on the other side of that bar said, you know what, kid, you're better than this. Get out of here. Now I'm the one giving those people jobs because I run into them at the Verizon store or whatever. There's a conviction in my voice to say, let's go do jobs, right? It's a lot of headache. There's headache every day. But when you're tasked with the thing that you were put on this earth to do, it doesn't feel like a headache. It feels like fun, right? When you can laugh in the face of adversity, it's very exciting, and you get fired up, you get passionate. There's nobody that can't be around you who doesn't know where you're at, right? And more importantly, when you because I would suggest the opposite. So you might but your identity is through and through to your book, and that's a conviction that most people don't have. They're in and out. I read a stat the other day that a typical millennial will have 19 careers when it's all said and done. You know, and look, dude, chase your passions. I got no problem with that. But when you find the thing that you're meant to do, money be damned, it doesn't matter. Like I tell everybody, so let's say that your business makes $100,000 for 9 years straight, and on year 10 you sell it for 100 million. Does it mean that it wasn't successful the first 9 years? You know, like that's you're not in this because you want to make a dime. You're in this because the mission is what the mission is. And that's why you're watching movies like Mission Impossible, because you're on your own mission.
Dude, again, so much we can go off on that. Yeah, it's inspiring. And again, I probably had 19 different experiments, you know, so do the experiments, test things, get in the real world, get data, figure out what you're here to do unapologetically. And when you get clarity, and you know, for me, I mean, dude, I've nearly wept. I'm looking at my tattoo, I'm like, what have I done? I faced some huge challenges over the last few years where literally I remember sitting on the edge of my couch, I'm like, what in the did I do, you know? And again, it's nearly impossible to do what we're aspiring to do and to play our roles well, but this is it, you know. And the power that I feel from you, that you're reflecting back, that you feel from me, of conviction and just an all-inness, that again, to use Sean again, Sean has it. It's the seventh objective of the book and everything I do, which is to activate our superpower, which I call, named after Gandhi, soul force. So when someone is living in integrity with their highest ideals, they have what Gandhi would call soul force. Martin Luther King talked about it in his I Have a Dream speech. If you think about your favorite heroes, who are some of your favorite heroes? Who comes to mind?
My dad, myself 10 years from now, and I don't know. I love Rob Dyrdek. Like he's my dude right now in business. Just the way he views life. Like I study him. Like everybody thinks he was a skater, but he's not. He's done at 450 million. But just more importantly, the fire he has for what he's doing, the conviction.
Beautiful. So then each of us can do that right now. Think about it. Who are your two favorite heroes? So I've got a bunch on my wall back here, you know, but the two I like to use to make my point is Gandhi and Churchill. Churchill is literally right above my head. And then I've got, you can't see it, and then I got Gandhi. So Gandhi and Churchill lived in the same era, yet they were as different as they could possibly be. Gandhi's frail, wears a loincloth to the palace, doesn't talk for days. Churchill's portly, super nationalistic, and just would go days without stopping talking, And these guys don't even like each other. But they both had one quality in common, which is in their presence, you felt their power, you felt their soul force. And so my thing is, think of your two heroes, then think of you. I love that you said me in 10 years. Matthew McConaughey's idea of a hero is the one you're chasing, that best version of yourself, that gap. But anyway, every single hero had one thing in common, which is their soul force. The ancient Chinese philosophers called it moral charisma. The whole Confucius and Lao Tzu, Wu Wei, we think of it as effortless action. What does that even mean? But it was effortless, virtuous action. It was effortlessly being your best self, which is what our heroes did more often than most. So and they call that moral charisma. People feel it at a neurological level. People, when they're in the presence of people who are living in integrity. It's why the Chinese philosophers taught it to the leaders, because they wanted to be able to lead, and they knew the only way to do it was to have moral charisma. Anyway, my not hypothesis, my belief is that is the latent superpower within each of us. And we just need to do the hard work to activate it. Again, moment to moment to moment. You never get to a place where you're done and exonerated, as my coach Phil Stutz puts it. Every day you're going to face pain, uncertainty, and hard work. Close the gap. But when you do, you have a felt sense of moral charisma and soul force that literally people can sense and they want to be around. And that's it. Like, that's the ultimate objective of everything that I do, is to help you activate that more and more consistently, consciously, deliberately, such that we can experience the joy of a life well lived, while achieving all the things, that are still important in the quote normal world, but changing it in the process.
I love it. If people want to find out the book, they want to find out the app, how would they do that?
So the app heroic.us is the URL. You can search Heroic in iOS and Android to find the app. Heroic, the training platform. And then the book, you buy it anywhere you buy books, Arete, ARETE, or heroic.us/book. You can get, the free, whatever you want to call it, audiobook sample and ebook sample and a bunch of bonus goodies and all that good stuff if you decide to buy the book. But yeah, man, appreciate you. I'm fired up. I'm like ready to go. I'm ready to go hit the trail, hit a workout right now. You got me all fired up.
How we do it, man. Guys, if you got some value from this, send it to a friend, and we'll see you next time.